And I had an alumni reach out to me and say, hey, you know, I'm a recent alum of Palmer, and I've been working with this guy through AI to set up my practice, to set up my marketing, and I think he'd be a really great speaker for the Center for Business Development. And so I reached out, and today, Chris Alto, who is the co-founder of a company called Zipper, is going to be speaking to you today about an AI-powered practice. And so, Chris, I'm just going to turn it over to you. Is there anything you need before we get started?
I think we're in good shape. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yep. Sweet. All right,
Okay.
sweet. And I'll record. You heard the recording come in, but we'll record this, so I'll toss it onto YouTube. So if anybody wants to check out any of the things we talked about, rewatch, share with people, it'll be easy to do. So no need to worry about taking extensive notes. We'll add a recording for you. Awesome. So let's hop into it. I'm Chris. I'm the co-founder of Zipper, as Jackie mentioned, and my goal today is to share a bit about how you can think about marketing your first clinic if you are thinking about opening a clinic. At the end of this, hopefully you'll have an actionable guide to think about for easy steps to take for getting things up and running from a marketing standpoint. And then you can always reach out to me if you have questions, things you want to talk about, whatever. I definitely prefer to keep this interactive. So as I'm running through these slides, if you have questions or you have ideas or things you want to chime in on, feel free to raise your hand. I can see y'all. So we can make this hopefully be an interactive session and make sure that we cover everything that we need to cover. All right, let's get into it. So who am I? I'm Chris, founded Zipper about 2 years ago. My background, I spent the past 10 years in marketing and software and startups, worked with hundreds of small businesses to help them with improving their growth strategy. And so hopefully I can share some of those lessons with you all as you're thinking about becoming entrepreneurs, opening clinics, and treating patients. So when you're a new chiropractor, the big pain point that I hear is today there's really two options when it comes to marketing your practice. The first is you do it yourself. So you have to learn how to build a website, get it to rank on Google, essentially become a digital marketer on top of treating patients and doing everything else that's required for building a practice. The other side is you can hire a marketing agency, but they're typically pretty expensive. And a lot of folks who recently graduated don't have 20 to 50 grand to put towards an agency. So when you pair that with the fact that you're obviously time constrained, you don't have tons of money, there's other competition. I'm sure that wherever you're thinking about opening a clinic or a practice, there's other chiropractors, there's other sports medicine, there's other physical therapists, other folks who are competing for that attention for potential patients. And at the end of the day, you have to also provide an amazing service, right? So there's a lot going on. And so it can be really challenging and overwhelming when you're first getting started. The simplest way to think about marketing your clinic is in this flywheel sort of diagram here. So how do we get people to find us? When they find us, how do we convert them? When we convert them, how do we get them to stick around and be happy and keep coming back and booking more appointments? And then how do we make them promoters of our brand so they go and tell their friends about us, which then attracts more people, which then converts more people. And so when you get this flywheel going, it can really work on autopilot for you. And you can be growing your clinic, growing your practice, getting more patients in the door without having to spend extensive amounts of time. But it's all about getting that momentum. It's all about getting those first really happy patients and providing an amazing service and ultimately getting them to tell their friends and so on. So let's walk through a little bit of each of these. So from an attract standpoint, I think the number one opportunity is really around your web presence and your website. So it's going to be your first impression. Think about it. If someone tells you, hey, go check out this doctor, go check out this company, the first thing you typically are going to do, right, is go look at their website. If the website looks like it's built in 1995, it doesn't work on your phone, it doesn't have the right information, that's going to be a really bad first impression. And ultimately, it's going to affect the ability for that person to convert, to build trust with them. And you just lost a big opportunity. So really investing in your digital footprint, in your website specifically, can be a really, really effective use of time and resources. And we'll get a little bit deeper into what that means and what you'd want to be thinking about. Then also be thinking about where do you want to market, like where do your ideal patients hang out? Are they on Facebook and then Instagram? Are they at local meetups? Like where do those folks hang out and how can you get in front of them? And then be consistent. So have a consistent message across these different platforms. Make sure you're saying the same thing on your website that you're saying on your Facebook, that you're saying on your TikTok, that you're saying in your newsletter. So that can be really important just to maintain consistency and try to be where those patients are. When it comes to converting folks, think about once they land on the website, now let's build trust with them. Let's maximize the likelihood of them actually getting in touch with us. So some simple things to think about are like clear calls to action, clear buttons, as opposed to a learn more, have a book an intro session now. Like these little tweaks you can be making that are more action oriented can do a really big job at getting people to book time with you. Have a simple booking process. So there's a lot of data that suggests that if you have a really easy way for folks to book an appointment, a free consultation, whatever, specifically online, we don't have to call you, you're going to increase your bookings dramatically. And also, a lot of folks who are trying to book appointments are probably trying to do it outside of office hours. So if they can't call you uh, and they can't book online, you might be losing that person to a competitor that can be thousands and thousands of dollars of revenue. Think about offers. So think about how can you provide value as well. So not everyone's gonna be ready to book a first session that could be a couple $100, especially for cash based. So are there other things you could do like intro sessions, like having a free guide on managing your back pain at home? Um, think about ways that you can give freebies and build value and build trust for people. Even if they aren't ready to book an appointment, get them into your funnel, get them into your newsletter, and then continue to nurture them until they are ready. And when they are like, okay, it's finally time, I need to go see a chiropractor, they think about you versus the person down the street. And then be quick to responses. So I'm sure that you can think about a time when you've tried to get in touch with a company and you've like filled out a form on their website and they respond 2 weeks later. You've probably already gone with a competitor, right? So think about how you can get in touch with people who are trying to ask questions and get questions answered quickly. In like a best case scenario, there's a lot of data that suggests if you can answer someone within 5 minutes, the likelihood of that person converting is dramatically higher. Not always possible when you're doing a million things, but think of that as like the ideal outcome. How could I make sure that we have a response within 5 minutes? And there's systems you can think about in software you can set up to automate a lot of this stuff. So now that they're in their patient, how do we get them to keep coming back and be super happy? So this is going to come down to building relationships with them, making sure that you're listening. I'm sure this is a lot of stuff that you're talking about today. But also think about like how can you make a personalized experience? So maybe after the visit, you have something that goes out to them that's a text message or an email that says, "Hey, Sally, thanks so much for coming in. Really enjoyed the time together. Like, would love to get some feedback or like to hear how we can continue to improve." And just making those patients feel heard. Thinking about things that you could do around maybe offering incentives for them to come in again or to maybe book a pack of appointments. Yeah. So this really just comes down to clinical excellence and making sure that you're providing a great service, but it's going to be really important from turning that person into a repeat patient and getting them to become a referral or refer their friends. So some things you think about, celebrate milestones with them. Maybe there's incentive programs you can think about. Hey, refer 3 friends and get a free alignment session or whatever. Make it really easy for them to share their great experiences too. But at the end of the day, the best leads are going to be referrals. So the more happy patients you have, the more you can incentivize them to tell their friends. Those are going to be the folks that close at the highest rate and also stick around at the highest rate and also tell their friends at the highest rate. I'll pause there. Any questions on this flywheel concept or the idea of attract, convert, retain, refer? Makes sense. All right, let's get a little more into the weeds. So thinking about local marketing, there are 5 pillars that are going to help you stand out locally, especially if you are a brick and mortar business like a clinic. So those are going to be your website, your search engine optimization, your social media, your reputation, directory listings, and then ads. What I like to say is think about these, the first 4 as your foundation, and then think about adding in ads. I talk to a lot of chiropractors and other small businesses that say, I'm going to invest a bunch of money into ads, but then they drive people to their website. They pay hundreds of dollars to get those people to find them. And then their website's not optimized and they're just burning money. So make sure this stuff's in a good place. And then we can think about how we can layer money in and start paying for more of those eyeballs. So your website's going to be your digital home base. It's going to be working for you 24/7. And it's going to be a huge opportunity for building trust, for attracting people, and for maximizing the likelihood of those people getting in touch. About 60 to 8% of people are doing research before they actually make a buying decision. If you think about the last thing that you've bought that's been more of like a considered purchase, not just like something you bought on Amazon, you're probably clicking around, looking at reviews, looking at different competitors, trying to figure out if you're going to make a big investment, whether it be with a chiropractor or anybody else. You're doing some research, so your website's going to be a huge opportunity for you to show what you do to build trust and maximize that likelihood of conversion. This goes without saying, but back in the day, people were using Yellow Pages. Google's the new version of that. And it's again, a big opportunity to build credibility. So creating a professional website is pretty much number one. There's a bunch of platforms you can think about to do this, but at the end of the day, think about just like some basic aspects of it. Make sure it's a professional modern design. Make sure you have professional photography on there. If you have your clinic, like hire a photographer, hire a friend who's artsy, get them to take nice photos of the space, get that onto the website. Create pages around your services that you offer. So around alignments and maybe do massage or whatever, like have specific pages on your website. The more pages that you have on a website, think about it like lottery tickets. It's like more opportunities for Google to find you. Yeah, you have a question?
Chris, you have a question?
Yeah.
Um, sorry. For pages, do you know the restrictions or how easy it would be to put patient intake forms on the website?
Yeah, it's a great question. So there's a couple ways you can go about it. You can embed intake forms directly onto a page. So that's one way to go about it. Another way is like if you're using a platform, like I know a lot of folks use Jane, for example, you can just link out to your Jane account and then that has all the intake there.
You have a speaker coming next week from Jane, just so you know.
There you go. Yeah. So a lot of folks I talk to use Jane and they seem to like it. You have 2 ways to go about that. Yep.
So would we be able to have that intake? 'Cause it's going to have patient information on it, and I'm not sure that I'd want everybody in my office with that information. So, but I will have somebody else monitoring my website for me.
Yep.
How would you then make sure I'm the only one that sees that information?
Yeah, so it's a good question. There's permissioning with those systems. So you can when they fill out the form, if it's on the web page, it's only going to be able to be seen in, let's just use Jane as an example. In Jane, then you can set permissioning for who's able to see that intake data. So that's all possible to set up. So whoever's managing your website, if you are using a Jane, for example, they won't be able to likely see that information unless you give them permission.
Yep. It's another question, Chris.
In Jane, can you send like a follow-up email as soon as the patient books an appointment, like auto?
Yeah, for sure. And then I think you can also do text messaging. If not, there are a bunch of different management platforms. Jane's just one of them, but that is a functionality for a lot of them is email follow-up, text follow-up, email reminders, text reminders, things like that. Cool. All right. So yeah, when it comes to your pages, think about just more content's better. And so have content around the services you offer, have content around the problems you solve, create blog content, have a high quality about section that shows a nice professional photo of you. If you have a team, a nice professional photo of your team, of your clinic. And use those strong calls to action as well. Be very action oriented with your buttons on your website. It's going to increase your conversion. And then think about local SEO. So we could do a whole talk on keyword research and essentially phrases that we want to rank for on Google. But at a very high level, think about think about who your ideal patient is and what they're searching for, and then make sure you're using those phrases throughout your website. So as the most basic example, chiropractor in Boulder, Colorado. That's where I'm from. So make sure that you have that on your website and you talk about chiropractic services in Boulder. And then you can get really specific as well and say like, back adjustments in Boulder, Colorado, and have a specific page on that. And you could talk about essentially keyword plus your city, whether that be a keyword around what you treat or your service in your city, more pages around that. They're called location specific pages. Those can be really helpful for ranking when someone is in Boulder looking for chiropractic care or back pain. The likelihood you show up would be much higher. And then create content consistently. So this is the biggest thing. When you're doing a million things, thinking about writing a blog is probably very low on your totem pole. But blogs are very important because one, they show thought leadership. If someone comes to your website and they are a referral, they're probably going to click around your blog. If you haven't written a blog post since 2020, they're going to be like, is this clinic still open? Is this person up to date with the most recent trends in healthcare? So it's a really good opportunity to build trust. And then use AI to write blogs. Like you can bang out 10 blog posts in 30 minutes and queue them up and get them ready to go out to your website. So don't forget about the fact you can be way more efficient with your content creation. I definitely recommend adding your own flavor, add your own images, add quotes, add your own perspective on things. But think about it as a way of getting 80% of the way there. Add your 20% in. Batch that stuff up and get it out. So ideally, if you can write 1 or 2 blogs a month, that's great. More than that is even better. But it's going to be really good for helping build trust and get conversions. And over time, it's also going to help your website rank higher on Google for those phrases that you want people to find. All right, cool. Feel free to raise your hand if you have any questions too. All right, secondly, social media. So think of this as, again, another huge opportunity to share your expertise, share your personality. So a Palmer graduate, his name's Trevor Anderson, Dr. Trevor Anderson out of Riser Rehab. He does an absolutely amazing job. I'd recommend checking out his Instagram. It just shows his like fun personality. It shows that he's like a former athlete. He does, just videos talking of him like lifting and whatever. So think about that as a big opportunity to like show who you are and build trust. On social, as well as like show your expertise. It's, you can record yourself saying something for 30 seconds, post it out, and that can do a huge job in terms of showing what you know. It'd also be a big opportunity for building community and then staying top of mind as people follow you and maybe they didn't know that you treat ankle pain after you've treated back pain and you just do a quick post about ankle pain, you might get a new patient to return. Action steps. Think about, yep, go ahead.
What was that doctor's name?
Dr. Trevor Anderson, Riser Rehab, RYZR. He's based out of Utah. So he does a great job with socials. Check him out. All right, cool. So think about focusing first. There's a million places that you can be creating social content. I'd focus on 1 or 2, and then you can expand over time. Like I talked to so many people who are like, yeah, I started, but I got so overwhelmed that I stopped. Keep it simple, keep it consistent. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good, and just start creating some content. Facebook's great for community because you can make groups. Instagram's great for visual. TikTok obviously is great for visuals and video. So pick 1 or 2 and commit to creating posts 2 or 3. I mean, I always recommend batch create it. When you have to be like, I have to create a post today, it can be a lot. But if you sit down for an hour and create 10 posts, and then you schedule those out for the next month, that's just going to be a much more efficient use of your time. And then think about different types. Again, use AI for prompts. If you're getting stuck, I do it all the time. I'm a chiropractor based in Colorado. What's a quick video I can make for my Instagram account? And it's going to give you essentially an exact script, great ideas, record it, post it, you're good to go. So success stories, tips and tricks behind the scenes, show you working with a patient. Obviously, if they give you their consent, show your office, show a day in the life. Like there's all sorts of really cool stuff that you can do to build brand. All right, cool. Directories. So when we talk about search engine optimization, one of the biggest things aside from having a good website that's fast, that's optimized for mobile, all that good stuff, it's a concept called backlinking. So a backlink is a link from another website that goes to your website. And if you think about it, it's just a vote of approval to Google saying, if this website's legit and this other website links to it, then that's a thumbs up. So whenever you can get a link from another website to your website, it's really, really helpful for your Google ranking. And then directories are the lowest hanging fruit ways of doing this because you don't have to like network and ask somebody and create content. It's just getting your business into these different areas. So think about Google Business Profile and reviews. Think about Yelp. Think about health grades. Think about your local chamber of commerce. Like all these areas, if you can create a profile that has a link to your website, I think Palmer has a directory. Make sure you're in the Palmer directory with your website. Get into these places and get backlinks back to your website. It's going to do good in terms of ranking on Google and building what's called website authority. The more backlinks and the higher quality those backlinks are, the more SEO juice you're going to have and the higher you're going to be ranking. Whenever I'm looking at 2 chiropractic offices and one is, I'll get you guys in 1 second. Whenever we're looking at 2 chiropractic offices and one is ranking higher than the other, it's almost always because the one that's ranking higher has better backlinks. So maybe they got featured in a news article. Maybe they have all of their directories filled out. That's going to be the number one way you're going to be able to differentiate is getting a backlink. And also think about like networking. So maybe you can network with a local gym or with a local doctor's office and write a blog post for them. Or I think we'll talk about this in the next piece. Or just get a link back to your website from their website is gonna be very helpful. Yep, go ahead. I think we had 2 questions.
Okay, so you said Chamber of Commerce and you said a couple other things. Could you just repeat a couple more of those examples?
Yeah, so Google Business Profile is going to be number 1. So think about Google reviews, like that's going to be your bread and butter, is showing up on Google. I think we'll talk about that next more specifically.
I meant more so for backlinking. I'm sorry. I just want to clear that up.
Yeah, so you will, for Google Business Profile, you will have a link back to your website. So that's a backlink. Yelp is another good one. Health grades is another good one. WebMD. I think ZocDoc does Chiro. Yeah, local chamber of commerce. And then think about networking with local businesses too. Like take part in events. Maybe if there's an event, you get a backlink from that event website. You can network. I know I keep using Dr. Trevor Anderson, because he's just does such a great job with marketing. He's one of our customers, but he networked and called all the local gyms and said, hey, can I do a talk for your gym members? Can I write a blog post for you guys? And then I think he did the same with like nutritionists and anyone who's and massage therapists, anyone who's like related to what you do and is serving a similar client base. They want free content. And if someone reached out to me and said, hey, I'll write you a blog post, can you just link back to my website? I would say, yeah, sure, why not? That sounds great. So it's a win-win.
There's another question.
No, I was raising my hand for him.
Yeah. I think
Oh,
it was-
okay,
Yeah,
okay,
Jesse.
okay, just,
Cool.
okay.
Excellent. So directories, backlinks, very good, very important. One thing so some more tactical aspects of this, it's called NAP, so name, address, and phone number. These need to be consistent across everywhere that you are mentioned on the internet. It sounds silly, but like if in one place you're Joe's Chiropractic and in another place you're Joe's Chiropractic LLC, that really confuses Google. Think it's a robot, right? It doesn't know. So it's going to look at that as two separate businesses. And then it's going to see the same website and it just gets very confused. So make sure that your name, address, and phone number is exactly consistent across everywhere on the internet. It's really important for directory listings and for your search engine optimization. And very simply, keep tracking a spreadsheet and keep track of people you've reached out locally for partnering and for creating content or doing a talk or whatever. Get a backlink. Ask AI. If you run out of ideas, like always default to asking AI. It's going to give you a lot of really good places that you could be thinking about that you might have missed. All right.
Chris, question.
Question, go ahead.
Can you give us one or two examples of a good AI or ChatGPT prompt to request that information?
Yeah, for sure. So I would probably say I'm a chiropractor based in Boulder, Colorado. I'm trying to get some backlinks to my website. What are some businesses that I can reach out to that to get a backlink and create a cold email draft for me to send to them? And it'll do all that. It's pretty amazing. Cool. I think this is I use AI to build this presentation, and one thing AI is really bad at is using text and images. So if you see like these weird hieroglyphics, it's because AI gets really confused with doing images. It's kind of hilarious. So that's what that is. It's some crazy AI stuff. Okay, cool. Number 4, reputation management. So
Chris, another question.
Oh, go
Chris,
ahead.
another question.
Sorry, one more question.
Yep, go ahead.
When you're sending, you said to ask it to make a cold email, but often like if I see an email from somebody I don't know, I'm just gonna delete it. Some business, I'm more likely to answer somebody if I'm looking at them than open an email from a business I've never seen before. Do you have any recommendations on actually having those businesses? You mentioned to ask AI to create a cold email. How do you make that stand out so people will open it?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I would always think about like what's in it for them, right? So if you're like, hey, can I get a backlink for my website and make it all about you? Like think about a person at a party who's talking all about themselves. You don't really want to hang out with them. You want to get away from them as quickly as possible. So make it about them. Hey, I noticed that, you're a gym that's on whatever avenue. I'm opening a chiropractic clinic right around the corner. I'm trying to network with some local businesses and would love the opportunity to meet you for coffee and maybe do a talk for your gym members on improving back pain. Like, is this something you'd be open to doing? So just make it genuine, make it about them, have a value prop. I'd be happy to give you a backlink from my website too to help with your SEO in return. But I mean, we've built our whole business off of cold outreach, and AI can really help you with drafting that. But at the core of it, think about if you were to receive it, what would resonate with you? It usually is like value. Hey, I'm trying to network. Hey, I'm new in town. Hey, I'm an entrepreneur too. Relate to them. Would love to chat and see if there's an opportunity to work together.
Okay, thank you.
All right, sweet. Number 4, reputation management. So this is going to be, aside from having a great website, having a really strong reputation online is going to be extremely important for converting people. So this graph here is the number of people who trust online reviews as much as a word of mouth review. So over 80% of patients, they trust as much a personal recommendation, according to searchengineland.com. So this again is going to be a big opportunity for you to build trust with folks who don't necessarily know who you are yet. So I like to say, think about your Google business profile as important as your Instagram or your Facebook, because this is going to be a huge opportunity for lead generation. So getting reviews is going to be, so first off, optimizing it. So filling it out, having photos of your team, having photos of your space, making sure that your name, address, and phone number is consistent, talking about your services, your descriptions. That's number one. Like, make sure you have everything filled out. Use AI to help you. Say, hey, I need 5 descriptions for my new chiropractic clinic in Colorado for my Google business profile. Can you draft those up for me? Boom, copy, paste it over. You're good to go. From there, the most important thing is to start to get reviews. So when Google is ranking a business on what's called the map pack, so think about if you look for, car wash near me, it shows you the top 3 results with the map on Google. That's called the map pack, and showing up on that obviously is really important because it's just like free advertising. So what Google looks at to rank you for that is number of reviews, your average star rating. So if you're 5 stars on average, your velocity. So how often are you getting reviews, and your responses. So how often have you responded to all of your reviews? That's really important. So when you get kicked off, start getting reviews. If you've helped a friend out with knowledge you have as a chiropractic, ask your friend to write a review for you. Ask your family to write a review for you. Start getting reviews, reply to those. Think about HIPAA compliance. Obviously, I wouldn't talk about what you did, but I would keep it more generic. Thanks so much, Sally, for the kind review. Have responses. When you're engaging, Google sees that as you're an engaged business. That's going to help you with ranking. If you do get a negative review, make sure to respond professionally. Respond to everything, even if it is negative. And people are going to be looking at that. So if you get a bad review, I always recommend empathize with them, and maybe offer them something. Hey, I'm so sorry that you feel this way. I'd love to give you 50% off an alignment, or give you a free session to hopefully make up for this. And what's cool is if you do get that person back on your side, they can change the review. So if it's 1 star, they can change it to 5 stars. So it's a big opportunity there. Respond to everything. And then also some sneaky things that are really helpful with Google Business Profile is adding new photos. Again, think about it as almost like an Instagram or a TikTok or a Facebook. Add new photos monthly to it, fresh photo content, fresh posts on Google Business Profile, using keywords in your descriptions of what you do. These are all really, really important things to helping you rank on that map pack. And ranking on that map pack is it's gold.
Chris, we have a question.
Yep, go ahead.
On the map pack, does it automatically notify you that you have a review so that you can respond in a reasonable time frame? And can I ask Google to remove a review if there's I don't know, oh, I saw my best friend Joey Hogan at the office and we had a great talk while we were waiting for the chiropractor, whatever, but that's HIPAA, because that person, that's somebody else's information.
Yeah.
Can I ask them to remove that?
Yeah, you can flag reviews if there is an issue, for sure. And then in terms of getting notified, yeah, you will. If you do get a review, you get a notification. And then you can also use software that can automatically queue up responses to the reviews, can make it really quick, things like that.
You have an example of that software?
Zipper. And then there's
Zipper, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, and then I would just look up reputation management software if you wanted something specific. So there's so obviously we do it, and then there's other softwares like Bird Eye's one. But if you just type in reputation management software, there's some options for you. Cool. And then use QR codes too. So at your front desk in the office, have a nice QR code for someone to be able to give a review. You can even think about using incentives for people. Hey, if you give us a review, I'll give you 10% off your next alignment session or whatever, because those reviews are gold and they can really help you with getting a new patient. All right. So last but not least, local advertising. So this is going to be, I would again think about the foundation piece first. It takes time, but it's a shame if you're going to be spending hundreds or thousands of dollars in advertising and people are just going to be leaving because this other stuff isn't optimized. So think of this as kind of the last step. And it's a really great opportunity to pay for eyeballs, get people to your website that otherwise might not have found you, especially when you're new. It takes time to start climbing on Google. Advertising can be a way to beat that system quickly. So the two that I recommend, I'd start with Google search ads because it is just the most straightforward. You can target people who have super high intent, who are searching for a chiropractor in Boulder. Versus think about social media ads is more of like someone isn't actively looking, but they're like, oh yeah, I do have a bad back. I haven't tried a chiropractor and I just saw this ad. Let me check them out. It's a little bit lower intent, so they're going to convert at a little bit of a lower rate. So start with Google ads. Target high intent keywords. Think about who your ideal customer and patient is. Maybe you work really great with moms in their 40s who are runners. Like think about what that person might be searching for, and then make sure that you are targeting those phrases on Google. Create dedicated landing pages. The big reason for doing this is you want to outline exactly all of the questions that this person might have when they do land on that page. The homepage might not be doing as great of a job since we are targeting very specific terms with Google Ads. So create a dedicated landing page, think about who you're targeting, and then I would just brainstorm all of the questions that person's asking or use AI. Hey, I'm targeting moms who have back pain and are runners in their 40s for my chiropractic ad campaign. Can you make me a landing page? Give me content for a landing page that can be effective at converting that person. So use that. It's also really important for tracking purposes. You can see how many people go from that ad to that landing page to coming in and visiting you. And tracking is going to help you. You can't improve what you aren't tracking. So that's really important. Then start small with a budget of a few $100 a month. Test things out, see what's working, turn off keywords that aren't working, put more money into keywords that are working. Go from there. Yep. So
I noticed you have retargeting on social media ads. In my experience, we're not allowed to retarget on Google, right?
retargeting on Google. So when you create a Google campaign, you're going to use what's called a Google Pixel. And so it's going to track if that person does come to your website. But because they are more intent-based, it is going to not be so much for that keyword showing up again, because that person types in that keyword again, like it's going to come down to how much you're bidding on that keyword versus with social media. If someone visits your website, then you can start hitting them. Same thing with that pixel. You can start hitting them with your ads because they aren't like actively looking. If that makes sense.
So my question was not as much about the pixel, the Google Pixel. The reason I'm saying that is we used to run Google ads and we did run retargeting campaigns, but the issue was we would get flagged and there would be like a thing, an alert, it says health and personalized advertising. I don't know if it's a state to state thing. So I wanted to know maybe if you had like a solution for that or a workaround or.
I'm not 100% sure. I can look into it and follow up. I haven't heard of that as being an issue for the folks that I've worked with, but it might be, yeah, it might be a state-based thing. Yeah. Honestly, whenever I don't know, I would just probably ask AI, and it's gonna tell you. But it's a good question. Cool. From a social media standpoint, think of those as more like lower intent people, but a good opportunity to get in front of them. And then you can also focus on demographics again for that ideal patient. You can focus on locations, interests, things like that. If you can use video, use it. It's going to have a higher engagement rate. And then you can do some cool things around, retargeting and showing your ad to folks who might have been by your website, for example. And then track. So even in a simple spreadsheet, just track how much are you spending per month, what's your conversion rate, what is your cost for getting a new person in. And another really helpful thing is think about like what would get you to convert. So think about freebies, think about like offers that would get someone excited. if you have two people bidding on chiropractor in Boulder and one person saying, come in for a free introductory session, and another person saying, you know, book now for a full price consultation, you're probably going to go with that free person, right? So think about what you're offering with that targeting as well. And then just continue to test, iterate, track, put money into places that are working, stop putting money into places that aren't. It's simple, but a lot of people don't do it. So just think about how you can be effective there. All right. Any questions on this stuff? All right, cool. So your first 90 days, let's think about getting things rolling. Based upon these things we talked about, get that professional website up and running sooner rather than later. Even if you aren't opening for like, let's say 3 months, still create a website, still talk about your location, get that submitted to Google, get that live, because it does take time for these brand new websites to start getting indexed and getting picked up by Google. So the sooner you get something launched, the better. Create your Google business profile, same thing. You don't have to necessarily be open yet, but have it up there, fill in your description, start adding some photos, start getting reviews from family, and then maybe leading people to your website that says, hey, we're opening on March 29th. Click here to, you know, reserve your free intro session for the first 50 patients, whatever. And then create your social accounts. Start creating content. I always recommend batching it. So sit down for a couple hours, make 10 blog posts, repurpose that into a few social media posts. And then you can use tools to start queuing that stuff up, set it and forget it. And now, cool, we have stuff going for the next 6 weeks and I don't have to think about it. And then once you get there, we have our foundation in place. We have our directory listings. We're starting to get backlinks. We're starting to network with some local businesses. Start testing out some ads and trying to drive some more eyeballs to the website once we have those things in place. And then think about other things that can help with retention. So I love the simple newsletter. Again, you can write it with AI in 3 minutes and you can send it out to your current patients, talking about what you're up to, talking about a new blog post you wrote, talk about maybe a monthly special you have. Like just keep people engaged, try to stay top of mind. And when they do have a pain point, you're going to be the first person they think of versus a competitor. And then you can't improve what you aren't measuring. So measure everything. All right, here's another example of what not to do on your website with this AI text. But in terms of AI in your marketing, the best areas, I mean, anything that's content-based, you can use AI for. So your website content, your service pages, your blog content, use AI. Don't use it 100% because it's going to do stuff like this and say something that's incorrect. But use it to get 80%, use the 80-20 rule. It'll get you 80% of the way there. Go through, make it better, make sure it reflects your voice, add in things, take some things away, and then post it out. And then you can also use AI for patient experience, automated reminders, website chat bots, things like that. Yep.
How long do you think it will be before AI will be able to generate images that aren't distorted like that?
I mean, this stuff's pretty good. It has a big issue with text for some reason, but like all of these other images I've used were created with AI. So I don't know. I think if you think about like 3 years ago, ChatGPT wasn't even a thing, and if you mentioned what ChatGPT does, you would be like, "There's no way that's a real thing." And then look at how far we've come in 3 years, right? So I can only imagine 3 years from now, this stuff is going to be pretty legit. Cool. And then you can also use it for analytics. So you can use prompts to pull in, to use data, maybe, for example, for your ads campaign. If you have a bunch of raw data, you can even take a screenshot of it. You can drop it into like Claude, for example, and say, hey, analyze my Google ads for last month and tell me where I can improve. And it will read the image, translate that to text, and then give you recommendations on how you can improve your ad campaign. So it's pretty crazy, some stuff you can do. Things to avoid. So start simple. Don't try to be everywhere. Don't try to do too much. It's like if you're trying to do a new workout routine and you're like, I'm gonna go super hard, and you try to do everything and do a 3-hour workout the first day, like you're probably gonna burn out. So start simple and go from there. Be consistent. Measure everything. Try to use systems where you can. Try to use technology where you can. Use AI where you can. Like by spending time using AI to save you from having to sit down and spend 3 hours writing a blog post, that's more time that you can spend on working with patients. So it's going to allow you to provide a better patient experience. And then think about who your ideal patient is. And it's called creating a persona, but write down all the things about that ideal patient and think about what they're searching for, think about what sort of content will resonate with them, and then use that to make sure you're creating content on your website and your social media that can resonate with that type of patient. Cool. Things to get started. So website SEO, our platform can help you with that. But you can also look into platforms like Wix or WordPress if you're more technical and wanted to really build something out super custom. From a research keyword standpoint, Google Keyword Planner is really great. It can help you understand what sort of terms people are searching for, volume. People are searching for chiropractor in Boulder or back pain in Boulder or whatever. And it can even give you some recommendations on other terms that you want to think about. And I'll tell you how difficult it is to rank for it. So some terms obviously are very competitive. A lot of people are trying to rank for them. Those are going to be harder than terms that are easier. So target easier terms. Social media, Canva is great for creating social posts. If you can use AI to create more of like the content, then you can plug that right into a Canva template and use that. And then Buffer Hootsuite for scheduling for social posts. And then there's some tools like Bird Eye, for example, which is very specific for review management and Google Business Profile. Cool. That is all I have. Anybody have any questions?
I got one more.
Okay, can we do this,
Yeah.
folks, because some people need to get to
Yeah.
class. So before, if you want to stick around and ask questions, feel free to kind of come to the front. Well, we can do that. For the rest of you, I just want to, there are evaluations or feedback, so if you can fill those out and leave them at the end of the table. Also, next week, we have 2 presentations. We have essentials, post-graduation essentials, and then we have the man come and talk about Jane.